Within days of the alleged rape of a 10-year-old Irish child at Citywest, the government face a massive spoil the vote, in other words, an entirely open right flank. In this episode, we look at the gaslighting from the Martin Harris government, acting tough but changing nothing, and ask what really happened at Citywest, absent RTE and most of the Irish media. I'm Eddie Hobbs. Let's break it down. It's time to pivot to solutions. We know the problems and the challenges. This coming January the 10th and 11th, I'm hosting the first ever IRL Forum, a solutions-driven national public conference with special guests speaking on issues Ireland faces today. Hence, this is the beginning of a comprehensive new discussion about what to do. Visit irlforum.com now for limited tickets with 20% off for early birds using my promo code Eddie. See you there. Dougie Beattie, Irish correspondent for GB News and veteran on Irish affairs, welcome back. You were there. What did you see and what was different about this event?
This event had a lot of anger in it from a certain side of the population, but the real difference in this was there was 2,000 people there. And as soon as I arrived, we had to pull into this, parking space, and the amount of Range Rovers, Mercedes, BMWs there. And when I got out of the car, the amount of people that came over to talk to me from middle to upper class, there was an amazing amount of them there. And some of them I had bumped into during Newtown Mount Kennedy protests, etc. I've been covering these protests for around about 3 years, and people get to know you when you arrive. And it really did start to look like it was going to be almost a peaceful protest, but from real tax-paying people in Ireland. This was no longer a working-class protest. This had moved out. And at that point, I thought, well, there's a huge Garda presence. We could just see them in behind the fence in the Citywest Hotel, and the huge pillars at the front of the Citywest Hotel were lying wide open. And the protesters started to go down that direction towards the Citywest Hotel. And at that point, we sensed that they were being corralled down in a very narrow avenue. And it was obvious that there was something at that point that was really, Eddie, it was going to come to some sort of confrontation.
And was there a clear difference between people at the front that got confronted the Gardaí and those that were not confronting the Gardaí?
Well, unfortunately not. A lot of the people that went to the front, there was a lot of people with very young children with them, etc.
Okay.
Because you got to remember what anger drew them onto the street here. It was the alleged rape of a young girl.
Yeah.
And so you had a lot of people there with young children that were marching down to the front. Now, I must say, at that stage, a certain point, a certain part of the crowd that were definitely out for trouble came to the front of that. And at that point, the fireworks started to go, the bricks and bottles started to rain in, and most of those family-orientated people, even grandmothers, etc., started to come back.
Of course, yeah.
And then the push forward at the same time. So you almost had this seesaw movement of people trying to get through one another as we were trying to run back. Because at that point, within a very, very short space of time, the guards, they didn't come out in ordinary uniform. They didn't try to stop it. They came out in full skeletal TSG cover in order to confront, and they would say protect those that was inside the Citywest. There was no plain uniformed men there trying to talk to them, trying to talk it down. It was confrontational.
Now, we have a clip from GB News, haven't we? So let's have a look at that, and maybe we just play it out fully, Dougie, and then we'll break it down. Have a look what actually happened.
Right, whoa. That's the press, all right? What the fuck are you doing? Keep going back a little.
Let them come! Let them come! You on the boys! You on the boys! The block is on! 82!
No, that's a clip that you that you filmed on the night. So can you just talk us through the top of it, and then we might just have a look at it, which you're talking over it, just so that we can walk the audience through what happened.
Yeah, well, so they came to this front line. Tension started to rise, and as they did, the guards started to pull away the barriers that were there and come through straight away with pepper spray. You can see the canisters quite clearly in their hands. They're starting.
Well, we'll play it. Let's play it. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, you can see it there now.
Yeah.
You know, they're moving forward.
Yep.
You can see the blue canisters in your hands. That's pepper spray, and you can just see here they've actually let us go past. They've went past us. Now the guy pulls off to the right, and he's gone to actually hit the camera woman. And this is the camera I have in my hand. You can see that they pull back and aim straight at us and take out the camera at that stage. And then shortly after that, there was another photographer and another man of the press that was just in behind us, and they pepper spray him quite badly at that stage and try and force us up the road. Now, so many people have asked me, Eddie, what I was doing there as a journalist, and I have been in the media for 30 plus years. You have to be on the scene to actually verify what you're seeing. And there has always been an agreement between the state and the media. In fact, I've heard the media being called the fourth arm of the state. It's our job to tell the people what are going on. If we're not there, you cannot commentate. Well, you are just commentating on social media if you're not there.
And RT were not. They didn't have
they
a
weren't
presence.
there. There was no mainstream media there except us in that particular
So that
place.
means that the Irish Times weren't there, the Irish Independent weren't there, and RT wasn't there.
There was no other television cameras there at that stage.
Okay.
I couldn't honestly vouch for how many photographers were there, but no television cameras were there at that stage.
And it was quite clear that you were media. You were holding the camera.
We were dressed in our coats with GB News on.
Okay.
We had press badges on us, and our minder, who comes to most of these events with us, quite clearly identified us as press.
Yeah.
In fact, female press for the camera woman.
Yeah.
And they rammed her into a fence. And then you actually see them going past us. And it is normal protocol when you're in one of these rats, and I've been in many, many of them, when the bricks and bottles start coming in, get right over to the right-hand side or left-hand side of the police lines. You are a citizen. They're there to protect you. And you get right in, and the line usually goes past you. And it's actually very stupid of the police not to allow that to happen. Because once that happens, then you are looking through the police lines at those that may be riding. So the police, what is actually happening in the front of those lines actually protects the police, because we can't see that, because we can't wander in and out of those lines as that happens. But because there was such a push from the back, we decided we would go to the right and try and get through the lines. And you could see what happened there. They openly attacked us very, very quickly.
And was there a command given to do that, do you think, or was it just done spontaneously?
Well, you could see, and I do believe it was a woman that was with the riot shield, and the commander behind her. So those with the riot shields have a sergeant or commander behind them, holding both of them. You can see him quite clearly steering her towards me to take us out at that point, and they did exactly that. I would like to have thought it was a bit of naivety. I would like to have thought that maybe she or he, if it is, was new to the game and maybe just got a bit carried away. It was a very bad thing right across to see them attacking the media, Eddie. That is never, ever good. And most police forces will shy away from that, because it's seen that you're trying to silence what is getting out, as if you have something to hide. And that did come across a lot right across Britain when those shots went out. I mean, you've got to remember, we also go into the United States. Yeah. We go out right as far as Israel, right across Europe. And to see that from an Irish police force openly attacking the media when they have identified themselves as the media is
and
not.
Could they claim that it was in the dark and we didn't see what we were doing? I mean, or was it reasonably well lit up?
Well, it was well lit up by the top light in the camera. I mean, if you slow-mo that down, you can actually see the eyes, making a decision. You are going.
Yeah, we might do that actually. Let's just we'll just roll that forward and see if we can reach that point.
And the guy to the right, Eddie, has actually singled out the other camera woman, and you can see him going for her.
Yeah,
so he's just peeled off, and you can see that the lad
she's being told.
Yeah, being told.
There's the eye contact.
Yeah, and then when you come in and the camera turns around, there you go. They know exactly what they're doing at that stage. That was. I would love to say otherwise, but that was targeted to do exactly that. And it was made to sense. And they did do serious damage to the camera as well. I think they were hoping that the camera was destroyed and would no longer be used, but it wasn't. We managed to patch it together and get it going again.
And after it calmed down, was there any attempt for the senior officer on scene to come over and?
No, none whatsoever. In fact, they penned us in to an absolutely beautiful housing estate. I mean, some of the houses in that village that village itself is a beautiful little spot.
Yeah.
And some of the residents that were trying to get in and out of their own houses were pepper sprayed. I mean, a woman that was coming in behind me, she was probably the same age as me, in her mid-50s, and the tears were run down her face. She had been quite openly pepper sprayed, and she lived in that estate and was trying to get back in. And then it got worse almost with the guards at the stage, because there's a shortcut through there to the Lewis, and if it wasn't so serious, it would be comical, because an immigrant that obviously was staying in this hotel walked straight in to there as a shortcut through, realised he was caught on the wrong side of the lines, walks down to plead with the guards to get through the line and they wouldn't let him through. They were going to pepper spray him. And he's pleading with them. And it was as well that the people in where we were of good humour, because they started singing at the guards and so forth. But it was quite obvious that this immigrant was extremely scared of what could have happened. And he actually stood just in front of our camera. So he was nearly protected, if you know what I mean. And I mean, even for us in there, it was getting hairy sometimes. But that's the name of the game. And if you want to report, you need to take on that risk. And, I've done this in England. I've done it. I've been in the Middle East, etc. I've seen much, much worse than this. But in all the times that I've been, I have never actually been physically attacked by a police force. I have been detained in a riot, as in with a camera, but I have never actually been physically attacked.
Yeah, what was interesting about the coverage immediately was the attempt by RT and other outlets to not use the word Citywest. It was going to be Saggart. They were trying to create a Chinese wall between Saggart and Citywest, because Citywest was clearly an IPAS centre, so they just didn't want it covered. And then what happened was one of the tabloid newspapers down here, the Irish Mirror, in fairness, did a great job. They called it out as exactly it was. They described the crime. They described the perpetrator of the alleged crime, I should say, and also we were able to get video footage of the actual area that was sealed off by the Gardaí and then taken away. But what I'm scratching my head about is, notwithstanding what happened to you, and the uniqueness of that, was that the Gardaí would know almost by name the people that caused the trouble through the bottles and the bricks and all the rest. They know them. They turn up at all these things, and therefore, and they're highly trained. They should be highly trained. So why would they lose? Why would they just allegedly lose their discipline and not just target those that needed to be targeted? It just makes no sense to me. I don't understand that.
Eddie, you hit on a good point, because, I mean, people would say to me, put that camera away and so forth, in amongst the lines where the trouble's happening. And if you look at some of those shots, there's possibly 100 mobile phones out. And the guards, the same as the PSNI, the same as the Metropolitan Police, have units inside there with facial recognition cameras. They're in the top of every Land Rover. Some of them are carrying them in their hands on the way in, and they are so as they can arrest later on. So they do know who it is. They know exactly who they're looking for. But really, they didn't want this story getting out. And I can only assume that that's why we were, I think targeted is maybe too big of an assumption, but we were definitely looked at and then the decision was made at that point. Whatever happened between them passing us, and you can see passing us, to whatever word came through, and they came back and decided to...
yeah, but they pepper sprayed. You were saying there you were just saying that, I mean, you're a professional journalist. Your job is to see what's going on and report on it. So that's what you're trained to do. But you were saying that some locals, you know, in their own housing estate were pepper sprayed.
They were trying to gain access to their own houses.
Yeah.
So they had to get up to this road to the left.
Yeah.
And I mean, this woman that I seen, I mean, she was definitely very well dressed. And I actually seen the house that she went into. So she was a local, and she was standing at the front line pleading with them, let us in. And next thing, this pepper spray just came across them. And you think to yourself, from a policing point of view, from a government point of view, that is obviously a very bad thing to do. But if there's no press there to report on it, is it heard? Is it seen? And that's why, you know, we are in the middle of these protests, etc., is to hear and see.
But that's why we have you in to talk on Counterpoint, because, I mean, the Irish state broadcaster wasn't there. That's why I was stressing that point or asking you. And I don't know what other members of the press were there, but certainly there didn't appear to be much coverage of, you know, I was at the scene last night kind of coverage, you know? No,
there was none of that. And I first seen this happening probably about 4 years ago in Belfast. There was riots over the protocol, etc., and the main stations there decided not to send TV cameras out. So what they did was they stripped off social media and used it. But at that point, you become a commentator. You're only commenting. That is your opinion. You cannot verify what you're seeing.
Because you're not on the ground.
You're not on the ground, and therefore you're not a journalist. You must be on the ground. You must spend the time. You must put the shoe leather in. But I found it quite strange that the next day, both in the Republic of Ireland and indeed in Northern Ireland, there was comments coming out about what I was doing there. And these comments were coming out from press, you know, I mean, if we take the state broadcaster, RTE or BBC, both these broadcasters have been up in arms about Israel, not allowing them in to have a look at the front lines in Gaza. They can't verify anything. Well, I was doing exactly that, and somehow I'm wrong. The press must have the right to go into those areas. I don't disagree with them on it. It's how democracy works. But if you decide to censor the press in any one state, Jerry, you are messing with democracy. You are putting in an opinion as fact, and that can't be. It's what is the difference between social media and the press? And the press, if they want to keep the establishment running, they want to be trusted, they must be on the ground. And to do that, should that be from behind the police lines or in with the people, you must follow the story. You must make your contacts. You must get the trust of the people that are around you. And you must understand not just one side of the argument, you must understand all of it. And at that point, you're then in a position to report.
And when you then saw within days, I mean, it was just about, 3 or 4 days later, we had this enormous result of the spoiled the vote, which really caused quite a consternation for the government. And still is causing consternation, because they woke up to find, okay, only 44% came out, but a huge number of them decided to come out to send a message to government. And when you take that huge message and you add it to a high proportion of people that didn't bother coming out to vote, there was a very, you know, it was a classic response from the people, you know, through the ballot box, sending a message to the government.
It was a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
I would be in and out of London quite regularly. I'd be in and out of Washington. And the amount of people that have said to me, that was genius. Because when you go up to be elected, they have to say how many votes were spoiled.
Yeah.
So this is the genius, that they had to openly say how many spoiled ballots they had. And of course, when that starts to come out, you're looking at how many people actually voted someone in. No matter if it's a democracy or a constitutional monarch, which of course doesn't get voted in, but if you put yourself up in the democratic society to elect someone in, and you have a huge proportion not voting, and an amazing amount more actually spoiling their vote, and they have to tell you what the spoiled votes are. There's no covering it up.
Yeah.
There's no massaging the figures, no cloak and dagger or veil or weasel words. It's there in black and white. And actually, it became the story in Britain of the election. It wasn't who was elected, but how many people spoiled their votes.
Yeah.
And politically, that was a masterstroke to do. And it may have actually started some people in Britain thinking down the same lines.
All right. Well, isn't that interesting? And you've been over and back to Washington quite a bit as well.
I have.
I find that very interesting because, of course, everything is interconnected, as you know, including what's going on over there, what's going on over here, what's going on in Gaza and Israel and so on. Because the Irish seem to be running up square against the Israeli lobby.
Oh, they definitely are, and they are running out of friends quite quickly, from what I can see. In the White House and in that area. But it's not surprising because there's an amazing amount of Americans, Israeli money in there, Israeli power in there. And really, Ireland is not seen on a world stage. And look, politicians in Northern Ireland think that they're all this, but on a world stage where somebody has a population of 366 million.
And our lot are irrelevant as well. Yeah.
We're all irrelevant. Even Britain itself now with 66 million people, it no longer has the power that it used to have. The power now lies in Washington and decisions made there and words that are said are repeated across the world, and especially with social media, and they are very offensive sometimes to those that hold that power and hold an awful lot of the economy here in the Republic of Ireland.
No, call me picky, but are you referring to our past or former president or new shortly to be former president, Michael D. Higgins?
Yes, comments he made that were not received very well at all in Washington. I don't want to go too much further than that, but they were not received well, and definitely there is a problem on that. And, Gaza is definitely in a bad way. The Israeli conflict, the Middle East, war is terrible no matter what happens. And we're glad to see that there is now a ceasefire in place there. But for us to be talking about it and trying to put political pressure, I mean, the whole of Ireland, North and South, just about has about 7.5 million people on it.
Yeah.
It is a voice coming in from the side that unfortunately isn't being heard in a good way at this minute in time.
Okay. And just finally then, I just wanted to ask you just about this extraordinary situation, which again has got very little coverage in the mainstream media in Ireland, which is where the BBC Panorama programme has been caught with its pants down, literally fraudulently reporting. That's by the way me using not a legal term, but just a street term, the actual footage around the the Capitol Hill riots in back along, and it's quite extraordinary, and it seems to be very black and white that the BBC would have connected two things that Trump said that were 30 or 40 or 50 minutes apart to make him say something he didn't say, and that it's only coming to light now. I mean, how could that? You've worked with the BBC in back long, as I recall correctly. How could that happen?
I would have done a lot of editing in my time.
Yeah.
And should that have been for RTE or BBC or ITV, what you edit then goes forward to a senior producer. They look at it, they examine it, and 99.9% of most programs, even programs I make for GB News, you have to have them in a week beforehand because legals have to look at that program. It is examined by a lawyer who says yes or no. If you did that, what has happened there, and sticking to the facts, is blatantly twisting the words that somebody said. I mean, I would have been sacked for that. There would have been a whole chain of people sacked for that particular incident because they could well now face a lawsuit, but never mind the lawsuit. Their credibility has gone. And no matter what anybody says about me, I stick to the facts, and it's only the facts. And when you're a journalist, it's the who, where, what, when, why. It is not what you may think. You, as a correspondent, you can say, well, if this happens, this will definitely happen, and then maybe 2 or 3 different things can happen. But you cannot twist somebody's words in such a way
that they said, they didn't say what they said.
They didn't say what they said.
But doesn't that go really to the heart of the problem that has opened up everywhere, where kind of state-financed or state-funded media, like the BBC or an RT in Ireland, really captive to state, whether directly or indirectly, it goes to the whole area of public trust. Trust in media, and it's really plummeting, isn't it?
Well, it is. The media have done themselves no favours. I think it's why our particular news organisation is now the biggest news channel in Britain, and it is simply because we have to be factual in what we're saying. No matter what we say, we have to be able to stand up and stand over it. Should that be predicting the future? Should it be sources that we have? We have to show the credibility of those sources. We have to show how we got stuff. We have to show the legal actions that may be taken against us. And that is all because we are examined through a microscope. But when we look at this at BBC with what is going on there, what is clearly making someone say something they didn't say, it calls into question of who, are they in a bubble? Do they talk to one another? Did nobody say in this newsroom, you can't do that? That was 53 minutes apart. Where was that person?
Well, we're saying it as well, Dougie, in just the simple stuff of, the amount of people that are out on rallies. I mean, when we saw it in London, the official number was 110,000, and I'm looking at it going, I mean, this was absolutely enormous.
Well, I was there, Eddie, and I was the only journalist, if you look online, that actually says how many was there. There was 150,000 of those people from the front of the stage down to Westminster. Then there was possibly 3 times that to the end of Westminster Bridge, and then many more down beyond that, which we couldn't get back to because the crowds were absolutely jam-packed on the road. There was definitely well over 500,000 people at that stage.
Yeah.
But I can only say what I seen. And they wasn't a protest going up, taking half the road up. It was filling it from shop door to shop door.
I was watching the media coverage was coming from a helicopter, and I was stunned at the narrative. I said, how does that narrative doesn't fit that visual? I mean, it was so obvious. I mean, we've had it here as well with RT in terms of the size of the counter rally out against the main rally down O'Connell Street, all this kind of nonsense.
And they were also painting them as far right. And I'm like, no, they're not, because the people that I spoke to, I went amongst them with that camera in London. They were from all over the British Isles. There was people from here in the Republic of Ireland were there, the Unite the Kingdom rally, which in some ways was strange, but knowing it's why I'm in the south of Ireland so much. It's not just because we're linked. It's because what goes on in the Republic of Ireland is very, very connected to what is happening in Britain. And we've seen that in the Rwanda plan. Came in, loads of those people that were going to be deported or could be deported. They jumped on the next boat and came straight into Ireland because Ireland has the next best welfare system to Great Britain, and that's what they're coming for. They're coming for the welfare. Some may be coming for other reasons, but you would imagine that the majority of them are coming for a house and the welfare that goes with it. Otherwise, why would they be coming to Britain? Why would they be leaving beautiful Greece or Spain or France to come this far?
So last question for you, Dougie. How do you see this? I mean, I know you're just looking near term. How do you see this developing?
I think the government themselves are now starting to change their speech. But as we've seen in Britain over the last 15 or months or so, stop the boats, it doesn't work. Smash the gang. It's not working. There's actually more people in now than there ever was in the last year before that. So they use these words to turn it around, and people just want to see real action, Eddie. They want to see a result. And I fear that we're not going to see that within the next 3 years. I do believe that there will be a massive shift in political thinking over the next 3 years, and we will start to see, hopefully, a community realize that they haven't got the resources for all these people that are not paying tax, that are dependents on the state, that you have to pay for while your resources are getting smaller. That will, there's no doubt about that, start to bring more confrontation as people become frustrated. It'll see more young Irish people leaving these shores and heading abroad and may never come back. Hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully there will be some political shift, should that be in Europe or with what's happening in the United States. United States are the one to watch in this. Because what happens in Washington, you will see here within the year the same sort of policy come your direction. And I think at this minute in time, whether you like him or not, Trump is making a huge difference, but only for the Americans. And at the end of the day, he said America first, and he's doing exactly that.
Well, Dougie, you know, that's a good way to go. So listen, 2 cheers for Trump. If you've liked this episode, please hit like and subscribe, the 2 big buttons, and do send around the content to those that are interested in this type of material, and come to the next episode of Counterpoint, and keep coming back. And we'll be, as you can see from earlier on, we have a 2-day conference lined up on the 10th and 11th of January. More about that and on, where we'll be focusing on solutions and not just problems. So thank you very much, and see you next time.